Bring Me the Horizon are making life very difficult for every other band in the metal scene when it comes to live shows. I've seen thousands of gigs across many different genres over the past 24 years, and honestly, this band has raised the bar in terms of what's possible for a live show so stupidly high that I don't think I'm going to see a better gig than what I saw last night at the O2 Arena in London for many years. Unless other bands watch this, learn from it, and try and emulate some of this themselves. I'm going to share exactly why I think that over the course of this video. I've added chapters in the description, so if you just want to skip ahead to my review of Bring Me the Horizon, you can do so, but I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the support acts that were playing last night at the gig. They were Bad Omens, Caseyette, and opening the show was Static Dress. Now, unfortunately, I didn't catch Static Dress's set. My daughter is unwell at the moment, so I spent as much time as I could looking after her yesterday before my wife took over for the evening, and I went to the gig. It meant that I didn't get to see Static Dress, unfortunately. But my friend did, and so I have a kind of review from him. His name's Keir, he's a drummer as well, and he said, overall, they were pretty good. He sent me some footage, which I'll play for you now, so you can kind of check it out as well. He said compared to their performance at Download Festival, he enjoyed it more, and they were really reminding him of Under Oath. So if you like that band, maybe they're of interest to you. He said the band was tight, everyone performed really well, and the drummer really went for it and had plenty of energy. And he reckons that if they continue with their current trajectory, they could grow into a really great band. Now, I did catch the next act, which was Caseyette, and I was really looking forward to seeing her performance, because I've seen her a few times at Download Festival and at the O2 Islington Academy in London, and she has a fantastic live voice, and her songs are pretty decent too. However, I struggled to enjoy her set at the O2 Arena last night. I don't know whether she's struggling with a vocal issue at the moment or this is a decision made by someone in her team, but 99% of what was heard through the speakers last night during her set wasn't her raw vocal input. It was a backing track vocal, and not even the harmony backing track. The lead vocal was through backing track. Now, I could see on stage she was singing into the mic, and she probably heard her voice in her in-ears, but what was coming out of the front of house was not what she was doing on stage. There were a couple of moments where she put the mic away and the same voice came out through the speakers as you heard it already when she was doing that. It's disappointing. Again, I don't think this is a mime choice in terms of what she thinks is a good stage performance. I've seen her perform live with the genuine authentic voice and it was incredible. I suspect either she has some kind of throat issue at the moment and you don't want to pull out of a support slot of a Bring Me the Horizon arena tour. So for career's sake, you'd be like, let's just go, we'll put a strong vocal through the speakers and I'll try and double it up where I can. Or maybe the front of house engineer just got the mix wrong and didn't put enough of her vocal in there. But it was surprising that it was the lead vocal part that was coming through from the backing track. And you could tell when the moments between her speaking and the sung moments of the song, it was different volume levels. It was different delivery. So that was kind of unusual. And it made for kind of a flat performance, because without that human input that makes it live, I don't know, it just doesn't really carry across in the same way. So that was a bit disappointing from my end, because she can be brilliant. So hopefully in future there's less of that for her, for my own personal interests. Next was Bad Omens, and I was very interested to see them, although I wasn't expecting too much, because their recent album is kind of a softer, more kind of pop rock thing. There's some heavy elements here and there, but I just didn't really quite gel with it entirely, so I didn't expect too much. And that was foolish of me, it turns out, because they were phenomenal. Genuinely brilliant, captivating from start to finish. The performances from all the musicians were incredible. The sound mix was fantastic. It was really quite amazing. Unlike with Caseyette, it was definitely the vocal input into the mic that we're hearing through the speakers. There were moments where there was clearly autotune used, but as a choice to emulate certain vocal effects that you'd hear in the most recent album, so they put that through live as well. Now, other than that, there were moments where it was just Noah who was the vocalist's voice, and it was really powerful, so pitch perfect. Maybe they've got like a tiny little bit of autotune on the normal, not overly produced stuff. I don't know what their setup is, but it was really, really strong. The scream vocals were fantastic, really, really impressive. And stage presence was very commanding and entrancing from start to finish. Really, really cool. I loved the stage presence of the entire band, in fact. The guitarist and bassist were rocking some great rock poses. I loved the lighting setup. They were kind of silhouetted behind from the LEDs. The drummer did a fantastic performance, incredibly tight, and didn't overplay. He played for the song. He wasn't making things overly complicated to be like, look at me. But there was some complexity within cymbal orchestration and some of the beats there, which I really enjoyed. So the drummer was fantastic. Even though their most recent record has been a little bit more on the mellow side, they didn't shy away from playing a couple of heavier songs live. Like they ripped through Dethrone, which was a fucking treat. And they opened with Artificial Suicide, which absolutely slaps as well. Really, genuinely brilliant set from Bad Omens. I was so impressed. And before I go on to talk about Bring Me the Horizon, I do want to mention something about the demographic of the audience of this gig. Now, you may have seen something of the debate recently whether this new wave of kind of sexy metal in the form of like Sleep Token and Bad Omens should be called Baddiecore or cum metal. And I'm sorry, Metal Burb, but looking at the audience, I think Baddiecore is maybe a more appropriate name for what this is. This isn't just metal that's kind of sexy, it is changing the demographic of the audience. I've been to so many metal gigs, and I've never seen such a wide percentage of women at these gigs who look like they're dressed for a night out clubbing on Saturday night. And this is not a comment on like their dress sense or anything like that. It's more the demographic of the audience is changing, and I think this is a fantastic thing. No longer is it just a sea of beer-bellied men with long hair wearing black metal t-shirts and beards, right? It's for everyone. Metal music's for everyone. And bands like Bad Omens and Sleep Token are allowing a larger funnel of people to discover some of this amazing heavy music through some of the more sexy kind of pop stuff that's in there as well. And you can see it in the audience. I've never seen an audience percentage quite like that. It was really cool. It was brilliant, but really surprising and wonderful. I think the more we can introduce more people to metal music, the better the quality of the metal can become as well, because you get more support from more people. Maybe there's an influx of funds that help them, buy better instruments, have better production, studio time, whatever it is. And again, yeah, metal's for everyone. It's fucking great. So I think Baddiecore is probably an appropriate term based on what we were seeing in the audience last night. So tip of the cap to Bad Omens for what they're doing for the metal scene in that regard. And now finally onto the headline set from Bring Me the Horizon. Now actually I wasn't super hyped about the gig in advance of it because they had just headlined Download Festival, which I saw last year, and in my review I said, it's the best live festival performance I had ever seen of any band. And they're not like my favorite band in the world. I'm a big fan of their music, I do love that band, but they were just incredible at Download, and I didn't think there was much chance that they were going to meet the same level of expectations just by seeing them again at the O2. And boy, was I wrong. The set they played last night was brilliant. Now, they took a lot of what they did at Download Festival and redid some of that in terms of the staging of it, the kind of aesthetic look of things with the LEDs and the whole church-like thing. And some of the visuals they had and some of the songs were the same. The set list was fantastic from start to finish, except for Die For You, which I'm not really a big fan of, but I know people are, so fair enough. They had songs from their whole discography, including Diamonds Aren't Forever, played in full from their old school deathcore days. I'm not really into their deathcore stuff, but that performance was fantastic. They also had like an acoustic moment with Strangers. They played all the big banger hits from across their discography, so the set list was great. But here's the thing, the reason that gig was so good, I think comes down to three main factors. One, the visual spectacle that they put together, the huge LED screens, the pyrotechnics in terms of fire and smoke and confetti and the rest, the concept of the gig with this sort of apocalyptic Eve AI-generated being that's sort of trying to control the show and they're sort of fighting against it in a weird way is so entertaining and captivating. And it had some fun sort of nostalgic references to the days of N64 graphics and things, which was cool. The arc of the show, visually, entertainment-wise, was quite brilliant. And they had some contemporary dancers as well in there. They just really thought about this massive visual spectacle, which made for a really entertaining show. Secondly, the live sound, which obviously being a live gig is very important, was fantastic. The mix was phenomenal. You could hear every single instrument crystal clear cutting through those speakers. Ollie's voice shone through brilliantly, which is a hard thing to do, especially when you have so much massive sound that goes on at these kind of gigs. That was really, really impressive. There was a noticeable gap on stage where Jordan Fish with his electronic drums and keyboard stuff would normally be, and now they have a sort of stand-in guitarist who also did some vocals. And you know what? His pitching was pretty decent. Like, I think he supported the role pretty well. Not as strong a voice, let's say, as we had come to expect from Jordan Fish. But he did a serviceable job in the role. The musicians all performed really well. The guitarist in particular, the main guitarist from back in the day, who's still there, had a great sound that cut through, and his riffage was amazing. And he looked like he was having fun, just jumping around the stage in his shorts, having a great time. But the vocals in particular were brilliant. And as I've said, I've seen Bring Me the Horizon play many times over the last decade plus. And there was a point when I internally vowed to myself that I wasn't going to buy a ticket to see them again, because Ollie's clean vocals just weren't good enough for me. He was so pitchy and weak in a way that he would rely on backing track in the choruses to do and just ask the crowd to sing, because his voice just couldn't really do what he was doing in the studio when it came to live performances. His screen vocals were always pretty good. Now, his screen vocals are at a whole different level and have been for the last like 3 or 4 years. And his clean vocals are phenomenal. Now, I don't know if they're employing some form of live auto-tune in a really subtle way to kind of help things. I didn't detect it though. And actually, when I'm watching the footage back that I took on my phone, it's not perfect pitch. It's not a perfect vocal, but it is so close to it as to have that raw human input that you want as an audience member. But also the pitching was pretty brilliant. The force behind it was great. The emotion comes through. The scream vocals were incredible. And it was a great visual performance he put on as well. Ollie was an absolute star of that stage. So the musical performance, sound-wise, was top drawer. And thirdly, Ollie's humanity that was coming through on his stage performance is that third level to what makes for an amazing show. The kind of emotional moments he had, especially when it was about to play, I think it was Can You Feel My Heart, he's talking about how he was on the brink of just coming out of rehab and he wrote that song and I can't believe there's so many people. And I know that sounds like a cliched trope, but you could see him getting visibly a bit cut up about it. And also, there's the emotional aspect, but there was humor throughout. The man is so irreverent in a brilliantly disarming, funny way, and the humor that was within the kind of AI pre-planned, animated bits and pieces that were going on in the show as well, and the play between those was just fun. It's not just a metal show, let's fucking be badass and rock. It should also be fun at times, and it was. It was brilliant. The whole thing was brilliantly entertaining. The sound was fantastic. And as an overall visual spectacle and experience for a solid 1 hour and 45 minutes, it was genius. I say a solid 1 hour and 45. There was a brief pause when they just started playing Die For You. And shortly into that song, they walked off stage, stopped the song, because clearly someone towards the front of the standing area was in a bit of trouble. Medics got involved, cleared the crowd for a little bit, took a few minutes to get them sorted out. Apparently that's been happening a lot on the tour. People can get pretty into the experience, but also if you're at the front of a pit like that, it can be pretty difficult physically to withstand at times. But anyway, they came back on, redid the song, and the show went on without a hitch from there. Another fun little surprise was that Yungblood turned up to the stage for the rendition of Obey, which he joined Ollie Sykes. He's done that before at the O2 Arena in the past, and I've enjoyed both of those. It's a fantastic song, so it was really cool to have him on stage doing that. And Noah from Bad Omens joined on stage for Antivist, which made for an epic rendition, of course, as well, because Noah's scream vocals are fucking fantastic as well, and the two of them, I think, worked really well together. So that was a special treat that we kind of knew was coming, because people were tweeting about it in advance because of the other dates on the tour, but still, fantastic to see that happen live last night as well. There was also one really big surprise in the show, where they essentially previewed snippets from the forthcoming album's songs that we've not heard yet.
You mean 3. Oh, do you mean this one?
How the fuck is that drum?
Which was incredibly exciting to hear, but as a reaction channel, I was like, no, I don't want to hear this, because I don't want to have any sense of what the songs are that are coming. But anyway, the main reason they did that was to record the crowds singing particular lines that they want to put on the record. So they actually did this quite brilliant, I thought. They used that sort of AI animated being to cue up the crowd by demonstrating what the vocal line is supposed to be, what are the words, what are the melodies, and then having the crowd deliver that back to them after the countdown. So that was kind of fun. So I'm no doubt, based on the snippets that we were hearing, and the fact that we've got, you know, crowd vocals that people are being invested in, I'm sure my voice brilliantly contributed to it, lol. This album, based on the singles we've heard so far, and the snippets that I've heard at that gig, is probably an album of the year contender as and when it eventually gets released. I mean, Ollie cracked some jokes about the fact that it's taken so freaking long, but one day we'll eventually hear this album in full. So there you have it. That's pretty much my summary of what happened at the O2 Arena last night when Bring Me the Horizon came to town with Bad Omens, Caseyette, and Static Dress. Genuinely, Bring Me the Horizon have set the gold standard for how brilliantly executed a live show in the metal music scene can be done. It ticked all the boxes for me, and I really hope other bands in the scene see what Bring Me the Horizon are doing and try and learn from that, and we all get even bigger and better, more entertaining, great live sound shows in future. If you want to connect with other people who like this kind of music as well, I've got a free Discord server you can join. Link is in the description. If you want to support the channel, there's a Patreon. If you want to let me know that you like the video, you can do so. If you want to see more videos in future, you can do so as well. Have a wonderful day, and maybe I'll see you in another video.